We were on the topic of adjusting entries. Adjusting entries may we have to deal with prepaid expenses and accrued expenses, accrued revenue, or unearned revenue. And from those four important topics, one of them is accruing unpaid expenses, means accrued expenses. It means work is done, but we have to make payment yet. अभी payment नहीं की, लेकिन काम हो गया. It means this is a liability. As we have learned in realization concept and matching concept, we have to make an entry as an expense whenever there is a expense incurred. Actually, we don't need to focus on cash payment. As you can see on the slide, the current period, when the period is ending, it means we have to recognize expense incurred and we have to record liability for future payment. So this is the expense. So this would be a liability. We will record this liability. We will record this liability in the balance sheet. For example, interest, wages and salaries or property taxes. These are the examples of accrued expenses. It means work is done, but we have to make payment yet. For example, you can see on the slide, the data is available here. Monday is May 29 and Wednesday is May 31st here. So at the end of the month, 31st May, month is ending May 31st, company is closing its accounts. They have to make financial statements or final accounts. But the payday, as you see, if whenever someone is in the, especially in the construction industry, so they need to make payment to the labor after a week. So in this example, the payday is Friday. The labor payment is being made on every Friday, but month is ending on Wednesday, that is 31st of May, and the wages expense, the wages for labor from Monday to Wednesday is $3,000. These are the payment or wages for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. $3,000. But the payment will be made on Friday. अभी payment नहीं हुई. This $3,000 would be recorded on May 31st as a liability. But actually work is done from Monday to Wednesday. So it means this is an expense actually incurred here. Expense is actually incurred here, but payment is not being made. So it means this is a liability at this point, but this is an expense for the month of May. So what would be the journal entry? What should be the debit credit entry on May 31st? For example, you can see this would be the journal entry on 31st of May. This is May 31st, wages expense debit and wages payable credit. Wages expense debit, wages payable credit to accrue wages owed to employees. So this is, we have recorded it as an expense. We have recorded it as an expense for the month of May, but we have not credited cash because cash is not being paid here. This is a wages payable. This is a liability here. So this would be an entry on 31st of May. This is an accrued expense. This is a T account, wages expense debit, left side wages payable credit, liability है, credit side pay 3000 credit. This would be recorded in the balance sheet as a liability, and this is being recorded in income statement as an expense, as a cost. And now Wednesday to Friday, the payment is $2000. ये payment है. अब now the payment is being made on Friday. Payment Friday को हो रही है. कितनी payment होगी Friday को? That the payment would be paid on Friday would be 5000 weekly wages. Monday to Friday, complete payment for a week would be $5000 here. So on Friday, cash is being paid to cash outflow. So we will credit the cash by the amount of 5000 because we are making payment of 5000. 5000 say cash credit, and what should be debit and what should be credit? 3000 was the expense for May, and that was a liability, and 2000 will be the expense of June. You can see on the screen wages expense for June. This is $2000. This is a June expense. And wages payable accrued in May. This is 3000 is an expense for the month of May. That was recorded as a liability. So this 3000 is an expense of May. This 2000 is an expense for June. अभी है 2nd June. 2nd June में this see wages expense, and here it is not expense, it is wages payable because expense for May has been recorded in the previous month. Now it is a liability, it is payable, and cash credit 5000. 2000 plus 3000, 5000. Here it is 5000. This would be the journal entry on 2nd of June. You can write weekly payroll for May 29 to June 2nd. The liability is extinguished when the debt is paid. Yani कि liability will be reduced, will decrease, will end whenever the debt is paid. So here, this would be a journal entry on 2nd of June. So this was the example of accrued expense. This is called accrued expense. And work is done, but payment is not being made yet. So this is an example of accrued expense. इसके बाद after this we have accrued revenue. It means that work is done, but you have not collected revenue, you have not received payment. You have earned something, but payment is not being made yet. Payment उसकी भी नहीं मिली, but you have provided the services. So in that case, you will recognize it as the revenue. However, you have not received the payment, but this is still the revenue because you have earned it, and you will record receivable. You will not debit cash, you will debit account receivable. Whenever there is something receivable, the receivable will be collected in the future time period, and receivable at this time when the period is ending here, current period is ending, so it means it would be a asset. Accounts receivable or anything which is receivable, that would be treated as a asset. For example, interest earned or work completed but not yet billed to the customer. You have provided services but payment is not received. It means this is accrued revenue. You can, you can see on the screen accruing uncollected revenue. It means accrued revenue. So here it is. The policy of the bank is that they pay interest on 15th of each month. Every month, the payment is being made on 15th of each month. So the data here shows January 15 to January 31st, $170 interest revenue. Sometimes interest is an expense, and sometimes interest is a revenue. It is a like it differs from case to case. Here, interest is a revenue. Like you are earning something on your deposit in a bank. The bank has given you $170 interest as a revenue. This is a revenue here, but bank will credit it in your account either on January 15 or on February 15 because after every month the payday the day for payment is 15th of each month. So the earning from January 15 to January 31st, actually the time is past and you have earned this $570. This is earned, but you have not yet received it. This will be received on 15th of next month. This $170 will be recorded as a revenue and will be recorded as a receivable. So the journal entry, debit credit entry on January 31st would be interest receivable debit and interest revenue credit. You know, whenever there is an increase in revenue or sales, we credit it. So this is a revenue here. तो revenue को हमेशा हम credit करते हैं whenever there is an increase in revenue. तो interest revenue credit हो जाएगा and interest receivable will be debit here. We are not debiting cash because we are not collecting it here. It will be received after 15 days. अभी इस मौके पे at January 31st this is receivable because the accounts are closing on the at the end of the every month. January 31st is the closing day for the month of January. So here this would be an entry interest receivable debit and interest revenue credit to recognize interest revenue. So revenue is recognized and receivable will be recorded as an asset in a balance sheet. This is a T account, interest receivable debit, interest revenue credit, revenue. You know, revenue is a part of income statement, not the balance sheet. All revenue details and expenses details go into income statement. And receivable, assets, liabilities, on the security are shown in balance sheet. Interest receivable will be recorded in balance sheet and interest revenue will be recorded in income statement as a revenue. Now the data shows from January 31st to February 15, the interest revenue that is earned is $150. 170 for these 15 days and 150 for these 15 days. Now, what would be the entry on 15th of February? This is a question. What would be a journal entry on 15th of February? Because bank is making payment after a month on the 15th of every month. February 15 ko the entry would be made by 320, the monthly interest. By the amount of 320, entry would be made on February 15. Which account should be debited and which account should be credited on February 15? 320 is the cash received. तो ये तो हो जाएगा डेबिट. And credit would be interest receivable and interest revenue. You can see on the screen cash debit by 320, interest revenue for February 150, और जो जनवरी का था that was called accrued revenue. That was actually a revenue of January, but payment is being made in February. So that was recorded at that time, interest receivable. Now we are crediting it, we are reducing the balance of interest receivable. Interest receivable हमारा खत्म हो जाएगा, कम हो जाएगा. So that is why we are crediting it here. Interest receivable credit by 170. Cash debit, interest revenue credit, and interest receivable credit by 170. This is to record interest received actually. This would be the payment journal entry on February 15th. This is an example of accruing uncollected revenue. You have provided services or the payment revenue is earned, but payment is being made later. So here we have covered the four important topics from this chapter number 4. Accrued expenses, prepaid expenses, accrued revenue, unearned revenue, and accrued revenue. These are four things, and the fifth is depreciation we have discussed in the last class. These are the main 5 topics from this chapter. I'm again repeating. One is prepaid expenses, like payment is being made in advance and services is yet to be received. So there is prepaid expense. One is accrued expense. Okay, you have got the services, but you have to make payment. This is an example of accrued expenses. Third is unearned revenue. It means you have received the payment, but you have to provide the services. That is a liability. That is called unearned revenue. And the fourth is accrued revenue. Accruing and collected revenue means you have earned something, but you have not received payment. This is a case of accrued revenue. So these are some of the practice questions. These practice questions to have a better understanding. And you can see on the screen of about income tax expense debit, income tax is payable. When tax is calculated, it means income tax is an expense and income tax payable. So income tax payable is actually a liability. When you will pay the tax, cash will be credit and income tax payable will be debit. This is a simple concept of materiality. It means sometimes for a big companies, some things are very ignorable or you can say of less importance. Sometimes in those cases, whenever something is of negligible amount in comparison to the overall volume of a company, size of a company, so we immediately charge the cost of immaterial items to the expense. Whether they are used in one financial year or some other financial year, we don't focus on the time period whenever that is being used. We just make entry as an expense whenever they are required. For example, light bulbs, supplies, cleaning materials, such kind of stuff is called immaterial. की वैल्यू बहुत कम होती है इसलिए we just record them as an expense whenever we purchase it. We don't focus on when what amount is used in year 2024 or what amount is here in 2025. So we don't make any adjusting entries for immaterial things. So these are the steps of accounting cycle. You can say we have generalized transactions, debit credit, we post it to the ledger accounts, T accounts. Then we will make trial balance. then year of end adjustments, उसके बाद adjusted trial balance. So we have make adjustments here. Now we will make the adjusted trial balance after this. This was the complete understanding of adjusting entries in chapter from 4 from this book. So we will learn how to make adjusted trial balance in the next class. Thank you for today's lecture. Thank you.